Welcome to episode 47 of the SmartB Sports Update Podcast. How are you since Monday, Dan?
Good, thanks, John. Yourself, mate?
I'm absolutely fantastic as usual.
Awesome, John. Yeah, we've just who cares our way to the end of the ODI series, and we're about to who cares our way into the 2020 International Series.
Hey, I'm sure... No, I can't think of anyone who cares. There's got to be at least one person out there, right? The people getting paid to commentate.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Do they even care? Because they seem to be dialing it in a bit as well. The players, nope, none of them turned up, and they sent their B-grade squad. Don't care. Maybe the guys who debuted for Australia, they care.
Yeah, that they would care. Like Xavier Bartlett, who got... He was the first Australian to bag 4 or more wickets in each of their first 2 ODIs. So there you go, John.
There you go. Who cares?
He does, yeah. Oh, it was a joke of a match, wasn't it, John? The West Indies rolled for 86 and then Australia chasing the total down in, if you can believe it, 6.5 overs, John, 2 for 87. Just extraordinary. Winning by 8 wickets with 259 balls to spare. As I mentioned, Bartlett took 4 for 21. A great spell from him. And then that run chase. Jake Fraser McGurk, 41 off 18 balls. Blasted 3 sixes. And Josh Inglis, 35 not out off 16 balls. It was just a farce of a match, John, to be honest.
Yeah, completely pointless, and they just proved it. But at least Australia whitewashed the West Indies.
Yeah, at least they did it in the ODIs, John. Everyone thought they'd do it in the tests. But they didn't do it in the tests, but there are a few more interesting stats here to come out of that one, John. I'll just run you through those. Mm-hmm. So the 186 balls bowled in Canberra for the match are the fewest ever for an ODI hosted by Australia, excluding overs reduced matches. As I said, Xavier Bartlett's now the first Australian to bag 4 or more wickets in each of their first 2 ODIs. The 259 balls remaining when Australia reached the target of 87. That's the biggest win for Australia in terms of balls remaining, bettering their win by 254 balls against, if you can believe it, John, the USA in the 2004 Champions Trophy. The defeat by 259 balls is also the biggest for the West Indies in men's ODIs. 22 consecutive men's ODIs now without a win for the West Indies against Australia in Australia. Their last ODI win down under against Australia came way back in January 1997. Australia won 20 of their previous 22 home ODIs against the West Indies, while another 2 ended without a result. That's now 12 consecutive wins for Australia in the ODI format, a streak that began during their victorious World Cup campaign. It's the joint 3rd longest winning streak for any team in the men's ODI cricket. The West Indies total of 86 in Canberra, that's their 5th lowest total in men's ODIs, and their 2nd lowest against Australia. The 3.4 overs needed for Australia to reach the 50-run mark is the fastest for them in men's ODIs since 2002. So some quite staggering numbers to come out of that 3rd ODI, John.
What are West Indies ranked in the world in ODIs?
Oh, they weren't even in the World Cup, John, so you can look it up, but it's not going to be pretty.
I think it was I think they're 10th. Yeah, 10th. And that was the thing, like Netherlands scraped in if we were ranked like 14th or something like that. Yeah, 10th.
Yeah, so John, we've got a little bit later on our rundown, we've got a bit of a broader chat about February and sport in February. But yeah, this cricket really need to do something about their February. What I think, John, is we might have noticed over the summer that there was only the one day-night test match, that last test match in Brisbane, and the only reason it was day-night was because the Big Bash had finished. That's the reason they don't like playing too many day-night test matches, is they don't want the test match to clash with the Big Bash in the evening. But John, I think they need to really look at February and go, well, do we need more test matches, and do we need? And I know school kids are back, and I know that's an issue. So just play them at night time. Play the day-night test so the school kids and people working during the day can see them.
I saw a thing from Ricky Ponting saying his solution was to limit the number of T20 domestic competitions that international players are allowed to play in, because there are some players that apparently play in 15 T20 domestic comps.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that's a solution, to be honest. That will do nothing.
Isn't the... Well, my solution I went through the other day is just only play T20 internationals and 50 over internationals going into World Cups. They should only act as warm-ups for the World Cups.
Yeah.
I don't see any point... the next ODI World Cup is not until 2027. So why we're playing a 3-game ODI series against the West Indies now is anyone's guess. It has no meaning whatsoever. Nobody cares. It wasn't a competitive series. And that they really... Cricket really need to do more about their February calendar, John.
Yeah, we've got I think somebody new commenting about that as well on our social media posts. Right. I'm pretty sure there was a comment about it.
Yeah, there was, yeah. I think you've listed it there too.
Yeah, so it is like February's, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's 2 weeks in February where nothing is happening, and then footy trial starts, and there's a real, gap there that any major sport could jump into. And none of them seem to want to do it. It could be because the kids are going back to school. I know for the first week of returning to school, my kids are like tired and grumpy because they've been staying up late during school holidays, and now they're back to normal time, and it takes a little bit of adjustment. But even then, during the first couple of weeks of school, I think that more parents are home as well, so there's definitely a gap there that could be filled with sport and on the television.
Yeah, and as a sports fan, John, as a tennis fan, you go through these tennis withdrawal symptoms after the Australian Open finishes. So there is an opportunity for cricket to correct that. But we'll talk a bit more later on about maybe whether the winter code should step in, and there's a gap there. It's about who wants to fill it and what the most sort of practical solution is there. We will go into that in a bit more depth a bit later on.
But in the meantime, we'll have a quick, and I really mean quick, look at this silly T20 series that's going to happen. When does it start? Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow night's the first
tomorrow,
game.
Sunday, Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Australia will be landing in New Zealand and starting. Is it a different team? Oh, no, so sorry, it's 8 days later. Okay, so there's a break. Mm-hmm. Oh, I went to the wrong website. Oh, my God. That's not working very well right now. It's too early in the morning. There we go.
Yeah, so Game 1 Friday night in Hobart, Game 2 Adelaide, Sunday night, Game 3 in Perth, Tuesday night. This 2020 International Series, it's the last of the international cricket summer in Australia this series.
And Australia is currently paying $1.29 with BoomBet for the best odds. There's been no movement. And West Indies paying $3.60 with Colossal Bet with your head not over it. Odds tell a story. There's your preview. Australia's going to win. I can't really see anything happening other than Australia winning, especially based on that ODI. It's they got them all out for 86. They can just do the same in a T20, but probably faster.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I guess, at least with this series, John, there is a World Cup in the middle of the year in the United States. Mm-hmm. So I guess at least with this series you could say that, it is at least going into a World Cup. So they can use it as a tune-up for that. But
Yeah, West Indies are in that. They're in Pool C.
Yeah, the West Indies are much better T20 side than they are a 50-over side, that's for sure. Didn't even qualify for the 50-over World Cup last year. So, John, I got to be honest with you, John, though. I've got no interest in this series at all.
No, zero.
If I have other things on, I'm not going to watch it, John. It's a real who cares event, this series.
Yeah, West Indies is ranked 7th in the world in T20s.
Yeah.
10th in ODIs.
Yeah.
And 7th in tests as well. Yeah. Interestingly enough. Yeah, so it might be a bit of a better match than what we've seen in the ODIs, but still, it's absolutely not caring.
Look, if I've got nothing on, I might flick it on for a little while, John. But, yeah, if I've got something on, there's no way I'm taking any interest in this.
My thing is, if I'm in the car when it's on and Triple M, I've got no podcast to listen to and Triple M is airing it, then I might listen to a couple of overs.
Yeah.
That's it.
A lot sort of has to fall into place.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be no good episodes of a podcast to listen to. I've got to be in the car during it. And Triple M has to be. and then I might listen to a couple of overs. Or I might change the channel or something else. So yeah, India and England have had their second test.
Yeah,
as we all know, England won the first test, surprisingly.
Yeah, that wrapped up on Monday evening after our podcast, John. So I just thought I'd give you a quick update on that series. India have squared the ledger. They've won that second test by 106 runs, John. Great performance by, forgive me for the pronunciation here, John, but Yashasvi Jaiswal made 209 in the first innings. For India, he really set the game up for them, John.
209.
And 209 out of 396 too. So that's very impressive. Surprisingly, he didn't get man of the match, so that went to Jasprit Bumrah, who took 9 wickets for the match. So sort of could have gone either way. That one.
Just say 9. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we all know it was because of that the out in the under-19s World Cup. That was the reason for England's form slump. They're going to need to write a book about it and let the world know that lack of sportsmanlike conduct and going against the spirit of the game has affected them mentally and so on.
Well done to Shubman Gill as well, John. He made 104 in that second innings for India. So some good individual performances getting India home there, John. Of course, it's a 5-test series, 1-1. So it's nicely poised, John. We are talking about this real gap in February, not having anything to watch. Well, there's a viewing option for you right there, John. I'll certainly be watching a lot more of that series.
What time is it on?
It's good viewing time for us, John. It runs from around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock in the evening.
Okay,
time. So it's sort of the perfect viewing time for us, really.
Yep.
So there's a viewing option for you, John. But anyway, good to see that India have squared the series there, John. Of course, we are cheering for India in
Absolutely.
This series. We wouldn't have it any other way, that's for sure, against England.
The only time you cheer for India is when they're playing England.
Yes, that's right. So that's that one, John. And also a result from that first test between New Zealand and South Africa C. Of course, we know South Africa leaving all their best players at home to play in their domestic 2020 league.
When they announced the squad, it was South Africa C, but now that it's happened, they're like, it's just the B team. It's not the C team. No, it's the C team. No one's heard of anyone in it.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, John, New Zealand made 511 in their first innings, batting against a C-grade bowling attack. And South Africa only 162 in reply. New Zealand then made 4 for 179 declared and then rolled South Africa for 247, a bit better from South Africa in the second innings. But New Zealand winning by 281 runs, John. Rashin Ravindra, fresh off his really good performance at the World Cup, John, made 240, very impressive. Kane Williamson amongst the runs again, John, 118 for
I don't
New
think
Zealand.
it counts, man. It just doesn't count. Why did they even
Good for
bother?
their averages, though.
Why did they even bother batting? Why didn't they make South Africa play through? What was it? 511 to 162.
Yeah, 511 and 4 for 179 declared for New Zealand. South Africa 162 and 247.
Yeah, why did they bother? Why did they bother going into bat the second time? Maybe to get their averages up. Yeah, that's going to continue. How long is that test series?
I believe, John, off the top of my head, I believe it's a 2-test series.
Yeah, and then Australia goes over.
I think it is only 2 tests because Australia aren't far away from heading over there.
Yeah. So they've got Test 2, 13th to 17th, and then Australia will play the T20 on the 21st.
Kane Williamson also got 100 in that second innings as well, John. So double hundreds for him. A very impressive test for Kane Williamson.
Doesn't count.
Against a pretty substandard South African side, though, it has to be said, John.
Yes. So, yeah, that's the cricket results for the week. The other countries' test results more interesting than what's happening in Australia.
It's just because it's Test cricket, John. We'd much rather watch Test cricket than ODIs or T20Is.
And Australia has, they named their squad for the T20 series in New Zealand a while ago, which was weird. But they have recalled all their big guns. No one's getting rested and stuff.
Pat Cummins, Travis Head, Steve Smith, Mitchell Starc. They're being given the call up, John. So Australia ramping up their preparations for that T20 World Cup in the middle of the year.
What about Dave Warner?
I got the squad there, John. Yeah, no, he's in the squad.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I can go through the squad.
Yeah, I know Dave Warner's actually out of form. He's been playing in some domestic comp somewhere and hasn't been playing well.
Yeah, so he's there, John. He's in the squad. So it's Mitch Marsh is the captain, Pat Cummins, Tim David, Nathan Ellis, Josh Hazelwood, Travis Head, Josh Inglis, Glenn Maxwell, Matt Short, Steve Smith, Mitchell Starc, Marcus Stoinis, Matthew Wade, David Warner, and Adam Zampa.
Yeah, that's a proper squad. That's a squad you would expect to win the World Cup, actually.
So Sean Abbott, despite his match-winning heroics in that ODI win against the West Indies back on Sunday, he's missed out on a berth, John. I guess someone's got to make way when you're bringing all the superstars back. But he's on standby along with Jason Berendorf, fellow paceman. That World Cup starts in June, John, so certainly they've got one eye on that for sure at this stage. So if Starc, Cummins and Hazelwood all play in the same game, it'll be the first time the Pace trio have featured together in a T20 lineup since a home World Cup game against Ireland back in October 2022, John. October 31, 2022. Australia's played a dozen T20Is between that game and the first game of the New Zealand series, so that's a fair time since they've all played together. Yeah, as we've said, John, Australia take on New Zealand on Feb 21 in Wellington, and then 2 games in Auckland on Feb 23 and Feb 25 before that 2-test series.
2-test series. Ugh.
But there you go, John. Australia starting to take 2020 internationals more seriously as this World Cup approaches.
Prepare for that World Cup, which the timing, I was just looking at the timing of the matches. Some of them are at 10:30 a.m, a lot of them are at 12:30 a.m, 1 a.m, 3 a.m, so we're not going to be able to, it's going to be difficult to watch a lot of them.
Yes.
5 a.m, but I know some people will be staying up. Mm-hmm. That's in June, and it'll get more exciting around that time. We'll have Origin, we'll have a T20 World Cup, we'll have, I don't know what else.
The footy will be keeping us occupied at that stage. Oh, well, the Olympics won't be far away at that point.
Yeah, the Olympics will be coming soon. Yeah. Very exciting time. Yeah. Then Ricky Ponting actually did end up signing for the Washington Freedom.
He did, John. This is another thing to look forward to a bit later in the year. So Ponting has signed a 2-year deal with Major League Cricket side Washington Freedom. So that's a huge scalp for that US T20 league, John. It'll be the second season of that US-based 2020 competition. It's a 16 competition. In the first season, the majority of games were sold out. The games largely took place in Texas and North Carolina, John. So there you go. Ponting currently coaches the Delhi Capitals in the IPL, and we've heard his great commentary work with Channel 7, John, over the summer. Washington finished third on the ladder in the inaugural MLC competition before being eliminated by eventual champions MI New York in the playoffs, John. So hopefully Ponting can take them.
I wonder how they'll go in the World Cup, actually, America. If it's the second year for their domestic competition, there's only 6 teams. I really wonder how they'll go. Obviously, they're in the World Cup because they're the host. I really wonder how they'll go.
Hopefully they go well. John, hopefully I'd imagine most of the support's going to come from, people from cricketing nations who live there. They're going to be the ones who turn out at these
They're
games.
in Group A with Canada, India, Ireland, Pakistan and USA. It'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. I think it's the top 2 of each group goes through to the playoffs, so it'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe they're better than Pakistan. You never know with Pakistan. That's about it in cricket this week. We can move on to rugby league. I think rugby league is going to be moving up the slot most likely.
We're getting to that point, aren't we, John?
Because a week away from trials and then the season's about to start and all that kind of
stuff. Once the trials start, I think rugby league goes to number 1 for us, John.
And, we're going to do as we've been doing. Honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. It's a preview for the 2023 7th place Roosters. Mm-hmm. How do we think they're going to go in 2024? Mm-hmm. So, yes, they were 7th. We're well into the top 8 now. Well into it. They've got some good gains. They lost a lot, actually. So they gained Spencer Leniu, who's obviously their biggest signing, aside from Dom Young. They're the main 2 things, Dom Young and Spencer Leniu. They also gained Lewis Murphy from Wakefield Trinity. I got no idea who that guy is. Ethan Roberts, Blake Steep, Xavier Va'a, and Alex Young have all been elevated to their main squad. They lost Corey Allen, Fletcher Bake, Thomas Deacon, Eli El Zakam, Tuku Tapua, Drew Hutchinson, CEO Canterbury, Vuati Karawaluvu, Matt Lodge, Paul Momorowski, Jackson Paulo with an X, not CK, and Jake Turpin. Mm-hmm.
John, I think they're in for a good season.
Me too.
Dom Young was the top try scorer last year, so that's a welcome addition, obviously. Spencer Leniu, he's probably your best sort of impact interchange player in the game, John. He's the sort of player who can really run off the back fence and terrorise a defensive line. I remember watching him score 1 try, I think it was last season, where he literally just said, look, give me the ball, and he just ran straight and hard at the line, and there was no stopping him, John. So I think his job this season will be try and identify the weakest defender on the opposition line and just try and hit them from 10 metres out, running off the back fence. Well, I'm sure the Roosters that'll be one of their go-to plays this season.
Yeah, I think they've got a couple of pairings that are exactly like that. So it's like they've got Dom Young and Daniel Tupou as the wingers. They're 2 of the best wingers in the competition. Mm-hmm. So perfect finishing. They've got what's his name, Sia Wong, who I said last year looks like he's going to be a superstar of the future, along with Spencer Leniu in the back row or as bench impact players. They've obviously got Sam Walker and Luke Keary, who were clicking at the back end of the year last year after Sam Walker came back. So they've got a few pairings in there that look like they're going to be good combinations. Mm-hmm.
Is there something, John, I remember on Monday you were saying you were looking forward to doing this preview and there was something you were going to say about this.
I actually think their spine isn't great. This is something that people aren't paying a lot of attention to. I think that with James Tedesco obviously down on form, as I said, I think he should retire from rep football. He's an aging fullback. Once a fullback gets old, they get slow. He can continue to organise and stuff like that, but a guy who used to be the best player in the world is probably now the 6th or 7th best fullback in the game, and they don't have a hooker. They just don't. They've got Brandon Smith there that they'll play at 9, and I think he's a great back rower, but a terrible hooker. He's got slow service from the ground, from dummy half, and it's really easy for opposing teams to read his plays from the half, I find. I think with the Roosters, with exactly what I was saying, like they got strike in the centres with Joey Manu. They got great finishes on the wing. They've got halves that are clicking and know their jobs. They've got a front row that's led by JWH when he comes back from his long suspension. They've got a back row that's strike. They've got a bench that will come on and provide much needed power and replacement. But their 1 and their 9 are going to be their letdown for them, I think, this year.
So Tedesco's contracted until the end of 2025, John.
Yeah.
Does he make it that far at the moment?
I don't know, how old is he? He's so old.
He's early 30s, I think, John. He's early 30s.
I spelled his name wrong. Yeah, right. Born in 1993. I hate these people. Yeah, 31. Mm-hmm. Anyone born in the 90s, I hate you. But anyone born in the 2000s, I hate you more.
It's not so much his age; it's more the way he's playing that worries me.
Yeah, that's right.
I agree.
He looks like he's on his way out.
Yeah.
Even though he's only 31, I thought he was older because he looks like he's 34, 35. He's been playing for the past couple of years like he's that old. And yeah, I just think Brandon Smith is not a hooker at all. He's constantly been a makeshift hooker whose best position is maybe lock, but more likely in the back row. There's always a lot of raps on him and stuff like that, and there was the whole thing about how he was at Melbourne and behind Cameron Smith, and I just don't think he was ever behind Cameron Smith. He was more behind Harry Grant, but he's a makeshift hooker that's not... he doesn't give the best service. So I think that they're going to struggle there if they can't... The rest of their team is a superstar lineup, and they'll be able to carry those two through. But I don't see the Roosters winning another premiership with that spine. Sorry to say, you can go onto the internet and blast me if you want. Just for their draw, their draw is the second easiest one, which will boost them a lot. They play the top 8 teams only 10 times, and who they play twice is Broncos, Raiders, Bulldogs, Sea Eagles, Storm, Eels, Rabbitohs, Dragons. So in that, you've only really got Storm and Broncos, who are definite guaranteed dominant teams, even from last year, and I guess based on our ladder, continue to be dominant this year. You got Raiders, who we both called it 16th. Playing twice. You got Bulldogs, who we both called out of the top 8. Sea Eagles, yes, we said would be a return to the 8. I believe the Eels, we both returned to the 8, didn't we?
I had them in more.
Oh, yeah, we were in 7th. Yep, both of us in 7th. Rabbitohs, who we both returned to 8th. So, these are scraping teams. And then the Dragons, who I had at 17th, you had 11th or 12th or 14th or something like that. So they got a relatively easy run. They do play Broncos in Vegas, and their return is the best out of these Broncos, the Vegas teams, right? Because it's hard to come back from overseas, especially from America.
And that will be an issue for those four clubs.
They're going to be playing the Roosters are playing Broncos, Sea Eagles, Rabbitohs first. So they're playing those 3 teams as well. So they'll be in the same kind of thing. Then they got the Panthers, which is going to be massive. Then Bulldogs, Knights. So they actually have a pretty tough opening 6. And then they run home. They got the Dolphins, bye, Eels, Titans, Raiders, Rabbitohs. So they got a pretty easy run home. And that could be the thing that gets them into the 8. Actually, I think jump them up the 8. The easiness of their run home.
Was there something you were going to say about Trent Robinson? Were there people commenting?
No, that's one of the things we should discuss, right? So, people rate in our most overrated coach video. A lot of people overrate. Say Trent Robinson is an overrated coach. Now, Trent Robinson. He's been at the Roosters now for...
so he started at the Roosters in 2013, John.
Yeah.
And he won 3 premierships in his first 7 seasons. So he won the premiership in 2013, 2018 and 2019. 3 premierships in his first 3 seasons. Since then, John, since 2019, 2020 they finished 4th, got knocked out in week 2 of the finals. 2021 they finished 5th, knocked out in week 2 of the finals. 2022 finished 6th, knocked out in week 1 of the finals. 2023 finished 7th, knocked out in week 2 of the finals. Were people saying that they felt that he was more overrated than Ricky Stewart? Is that?
Yeah, that's the thing. So
that's just
he's only missed the finals once. as well with the Roosters. That's right. Yeah. So 2013 grand final, 2014 prelim, 2015 prelim, 2016 finished 15th.
So that's the only time he's missed.
2017, prelim. 2018, 2019 grand final
yeah, and
wins.
All those years I just read out.
semi. So, like, no matter what you think about Trent Robinson, whether he's overrated, people will be like, he should have won more with the team he has. I think it speaks more to the fact that other teams are better than Trent Robinson's coached Roosters is bad.
I just don't. So when we talk about Ricky Stewart and I certainly named him as the most overrated coach in the NRL.
For sure.
He's a coach who hasn't won a premiership for just only 22 years now, John.
Yep. Misses the finals more than half of the time.
Yeah, but he's won a wooden spoon in his season with Parramatta. Pretty sure it was 2013.
Yep.
Wooden spoon. There was a number of other years where he didn't win the spoon, but he went close, second last, third last finishes. He only made the finals once in his first 5 seasons at the Raiders, so I can't think of many coaches who would survive only making the finals once in their first 5 seasons at a club. As I say, only one grand final appearance since taking the Roosters to the grand final way back in 2004, and that was in 2019. So the people who are saying that Trent Robinson is more overrated than Ricky Stewart, John, they're either living on Mars or they're living in an alternate reality. This guy won 3 premierships in his first 7 seasons. All right, he's had a period since 2020 in the last 4 seasons where they probably have underperformed, John. They've underachieved, for sure. But to say that he's more overrated than Ricky Stewart, as I said, 3 premierships in his first 7 seasons at the club, compared to a guy who hasn't won a premiership in 22 years, then they're kidding themselves, aren't they, John?
Well, you can say all you want that they underperformed the last 4 years, but there has been the last 3 years have been the Panthers. To take away from Trent Robinson and say the reason the Roosters haven't won the grand finals because Trent Robinson is overrated, underrates Penrith.
Yeah, and the Storm won the year before.
Yeah, underrates Penrith massively because nobody was going to beat Penrith anyway. Seriously, so. He had, after 2013, he missed the finals 4 times. As I said, one of them, missed the grand final, didn't win a premiership for 4 years, missed the finals once, then won 2 and has missed out on winning another premiership for 4 years. So it's not like he's even had a more big break between winning grand finals than he did last time. If you want to go off pattern recognition, or by all rights, Trent Robinson should win a grand final this year. So I can't see anyone ever thinking that, and they're winning finals games as well. They're not getting knocked out in the first week of the finals, It's the last 4 years have been semis, right? Yeah,
2022 they got knocked out in week 1, but the other 3 seasons they were knocked out in week 2.
They win. I think that last 2023 they lose the first round as well. They finished 7th. They won the first round, right?
Yeah, they finished 7th. They beat Cronulla in that finals game.
Yeah, that's right. So
I think it was by 1 point.
It's not like he also has a bad finals winning rate. So, you can say Trent Robinson is overrated all you want, and he should have won with his salary sombrero-led team. But the facts speak for themselves. The guy has made the finals every single year except 1. It was funny. I remember the year they missed out on the finals and his job became in danger. It's bizarre. Also, there's no other coaches that have won 3 premierships in the last 11 years except for Ivan Cleary.
Yep.
And he's won over the 3 years. Trent Robinson has shown more. I'm not saying Trent Robinson is a better coach than Ivan Cleary, but Trent Robinson has showed more sustained success over his NRL career than Ivan Cleary has. So if you go and look at Ivan Cleary's record for the past 10 years and encompass it all, they both have 3 premierships. But how many times has Ivan Cleary missed out on the finals? How many times has he lost finals games, and so on and so forth? So, I'm never going to accept that Trent Robinson is overrated. I think he's one of the best coaches in the game. He sits on the rules committee, which is unfair, of course.
But just this idea that he could be more overrated than Ricky Stewart, it's just It's just not etched in reality, John.
What it says to me is those people underrate Trent Robinson as opposed to overrate him.
Yeah, look, I mean, I agree. I think that I've been through their results from 2020 to 2023. I think they have underperformed. They have. But that doesn't mean he's the most overrated coach in the game. That doesn't take away from his overall record, which is outstanding, of winning 3 premierships in 11 seasons, having won 3 in his first 7 seasons at the club. That is a phenomenal record, John. And to say that he's the most overrated coach, it's completely bizarre to me.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, like I said, I think they're going to struggle more than they should this year because their spine has superstars in it. You know, superstars. James Tedesco, Luke Keary, Sam Walker, Brandon Smith. Guys who are very highly rated, but I just think the makeup of their spine is an aging fullback who plays who's currently playing in the past couple of years has been in the form of like a guy who's retiring this year, and Brandon Smith, who I think is the most overrated hooker in the league. That's a joke, okay? It's a joke. Calm down. Put the knives away. So, but I've got them going well this year, and on top of that, because the rest of their team is so amazing.
Yeah, well, John, I mean, with Dom Young on the wing and Daniel Tupou on the wing. So Dom Young is 2 metres tall. Daniel Tupou is 1.96 metres tall. So that's the tallest wing combination in the NRL. So if those halves you're talking about who've underperformed, Sam Walker and Luke Keary, if they can get their kicking game right, there's going to be a lot of tries to be had out on those wings, and John.
Remember last year, Sam Walker was out for a lot of the year. They had the Joseph Suaalii issues at the beginning of the year, which, off-season stuff doesn't affect us, but come on, off-season stuff affects every team.
And I mean, now that Suaalii's his future is sorted, John, and with the signing of Dom Young, at least Suaalii can settle in the centres this season as well. He won't keep getting moved back out onto the wing. So, I mean, that's another upside. They've lost Jake Turbin and Drew Hutchison to the Bulldogs. But, I mean, Connor Watson comes back from injury, so that sort of offsets that, John. He can play pretty much any position, really, Connor Watson. And then you've got, the likes of Sandon Smith, Billy Smith. So you've got some depth there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
John. Yeah, I mean, this, just looking at their forward pack, John, I'm not sure what you make of it. I think, obviously, Nat Butcher will be there in the back row. But you mentioned Siua Wong before. He's probably shaping as Nat Butcher's back row partner.
Yeah, I think so.
Thought, John.
I know a lot of people have him on the bench because he is relatively young. What was the last year? His rookie season? I don't know. I just saw him in a couple of games and went, "Wow, he's going to be good." But yeah, he's looking like a experienced starting back rower. I think their forward pack's one of the best in the game. They do have a couple of guys in there, Victor Radley and JWH, obviously, who get suspended a lot, so could be missing for much of the season. We already know JWH is already missing. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think Egan Butcher will partner Lindsay Collins in the front row in round 1, but that's only because JWH is suspended for round 1. Once JWH comes back, Butcher might have a little bit more of a difficult task getting in there, but I mean, we know what JWH is like.
Don't worry, he'll be back soon.
I think he might get a fair few opportunities in 2024. So, I can run you through this team, John.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we might even have a situation where we've got 2 Test second rowers on the bench with Angus Crichton and Satili Tupanua. So that'll be interesting. John Siua Wong, I think, might get the jump on those two. But anyway, I'll run through this team. John predicted round 1 team. So James Tedesco at fullback. As I said, Daniel Tupou and Dom Young on the wings. Suaalii and Joey Manu in the centres.
Of course.
Sam Walker Luke Keary at 5'8", Sam Walker at halfback. Lindsay Collins and Egan Butcher in the front row. As I say, it is a predicted round 1 team. I think Egan Butcher will be there for the first round. with JWH suspended, but once JWH comes back, it'll be a bit more tricky for Egan Butcher. And then we've got Brandon Smith at hooker, Siua Wong and Nat Butcher, I think, will be the back row, Victor Radley at lock. And then on the bench, I've got Connor Watson, that very valuable utility. Yeah, as I say, Angus Crichton and Satili Tupanua on the bench as well, along with Spencer Leniu, who's going to give them great impact off the bench there, John.
So yeah, that forward pack is phenomenal. Like and the bench impact players is phenomenal. So based on the back of that, I think they'll carry where they're lacking in the fullback. And look, James Tedesco could come out and have the season of his career. But I find there's a massive risk there, and I don't think Brandon Smith has improved as a hooker in the time he has played at hooker. So I actually have them finishing, though, on the back of the forward pack and the strike out the back and stuff like that, 4th for the year.
Yeah, you may as well write me in for the same position, John. I've got the 4th too.
So, that's just shaping up mightily. So that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the Roosters, and now we're going to move on to honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the Sharks, my mortal enemy.
I was just going to say, John. Yeah, with Dom Young and Spencer Leniu coming in, and no major departures, I think that's what gets them from losing in the semi-finals up that next step into the top 4. I think.
Yeah. So with the Sharks. Preview for 2024. They haven't gained much. They've only gained Billy Burns and Michael Gabriel. One from the Dragons, one from the Bulldogs. They've lost Wade Graham to retirement, Tuku Hau, Matt Ikuvalu, Matt Moylan, and Connor Tracy. They actually have the easiest draw out of all teams. It's ridiculous. They only play top 8 teams 9 times. Who they play twice? Raiders, Bulldogs, Titans, Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Dragons, Warriors, Tigers. So they play the Raiders from last year's top 8 twice, who we both think will drop, and the Warriors from last year's top 8 twice. All the rest, not top 8 teams.
Yeah, it is an easy draw, isn't it, John?
They do get one of the hardest games of the year for the Broncos. They're playing the Broncos 3 days after Origin 1. So their hardest game, what should be one of the hardest games of the year, they only play the Broncos once. They get to play them in either backing up or weakened state. So that'll give them a bit of a boost as well. They got a really easy opening, kind of, depending on how you see the ladder playing out. But the Warriors is their opening game if they're playing Warriors in New Zealand. Then they got Bulldogs, Tigers, Raiders, and a bye. Then they got the Rabbitohs. So I would expect them to win.
Can't complain about that.
Yeah, like 8. I would expect a minimum 8 points out of their first 6 rounds, which will put them in the 8. Their run home, also very easy. Rabbitohs at home, so that's the second time. Then Titans, Knights, Dragons, Warriors, Sea Eagles. It's not the most difficult run home either. So they got a pretty easy run, actually. But all that aside, I don't think they have a very good team. They got a lot of talent across the park, like Talakai, Kennedy, Katoa, Ramian, Hines, McKine, McInnes, and Finucane. Obviously, Nico Hines. But I just don't think their team is super scary for other teams, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you touch on that, John. I mean, they've had real trouble in the big games in recent years. Haven't won a finals game since 2018, so that's a real problem. They've had 2 straight years of straight sets exits, so that's not ideal either. They're losing Wade Graham and Matt Moylan as well without any real gains, John. So there's really not a whole lot to get excited about. I wouldn't have thought. I'm happy to run you through that team if you.
Yeah. So you'll see the team. You'll see there's these players in there that are big name players, but they're not the players that strike fear in the hearts of their opposition.
Yeah, well, that's right, John. As you mentioned some of the names before, we got Will Kennedy at fullback, Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulatalo on the wings. He's real rocks or diamonds, Mulatalo, isn't he? He's a Jekyll and Hyde footballer for sure. Jesse Ramian and Siosifa Talakai, you mentioned him before, they're in the centres. Braden Trindle and Nico Hines in the halves, obviously. Toby Rudolph and Braden Hamlin Ueli are the front rowers. Blake Brayley, the hooker. Britton Nakora and Teague Wilton in the back row, along with Dale Finucane at lock. On the bench, we've got Cameron McInnes, Oregon Kafusi, Royce Hunt, and Jack Williams.
Yeah, see, the team sounds like, well, that's a pretty good team, but it's just not a scary team. There's no one in there where you just go, well, he's going to win. And, you have like every now and then, like, Talakai had that match against the Sea Eagles last year that was just ridiculous. Nico Hines sometimes has these like phenomenal games that are just like, wow, he carried the whole team over the line on his back and things like that. But, no, I feel that no club walks into a game against the Sharks and goes, this is going to be a hard one. To Fitzy's
fair point, John.
Craig Fitzgibbons, their coach, obviously, this is his third year in charge. First year they came second. Second year, which was last year, they came sixth. And last year he signed a 5-year extension till the end of 2027. I don't know why they signed a 5-year extension, just because he made the finals twice.
Yeah, John, I think with Matt Moylan going, I think Braden Trindle will get first crack at that 5/8 jumper. He played 7 of the last 8 games last season with Hines there in the halves. And I know they didn't finish the season very well, obviously, but I think that'll probably... he got a bit of an opportunity to build up a bit of continuity with Hines there in the halves, and I think that'll get him the jump on the other contenders for the 5/8 spot. So I think Braden Trindle gets that number 6 jumper. There's some other contenders. Cade Dykes, he's returning from an ACL injury though, so it's probably a bit of a risk to throw him in, throw him into the hot seat there. Daniel Atkinson, former Storm player, spent the majority of the 2023 season playing at 5/8 with the Newtown Jets, but Trindle having that experience in first grade, those 8 games, or 7 of the last 8 games with Hines in the position, I think that gets him the jump there, John.
You see, when it comes to Nico Hines, he's kind of been around as a superstar in the making. He went and made his Origin debut, was completely wasted, and then he fell to crap after that. Like after he was dropped and he lost a lot of form. I don't know if, maybe he's a confidence player, but that
seems like it, doesn't it?
If that can happen at any time.
Not being picked.
Yeah, exactly. And that can happen at any time as well. Like, going to come up to Origin, what if he's not picked by Michael Maguire and he feels slighted and he drops in form and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I just don't find them scary, and I don't think other teams will find them scary. There's a lot of great players in there. They're not like the Dragons where it's like, 17 guys who are like, they're all individually brilliant but don't know how to be a team. They're a good team, but they're just super middle of the road as a team.
And so you've got to ask the question, it's the Moneyball, the Brad Pitt Moneyball question, the famous scene in Moneyball where he sits down with all his recruiters there on the table and says, he says, well, what are we doing here if it's not to win a championship?
Yes.
And with Cronulla's team at the moment, they've got to be asking the same question. Are they happy just making the top 8 each year and going out in straight sets each year? Because it looks that way, John.
They've re-signed Fitzy for 5 years, like just a continuation of something. I don't know, maybe he'll kick butt and stuff, and he's obviously a very fresh coach. There was a lot of raps on him. He has made the finals 100% of his seasons in charge.
That's the thing. But I said it before. I might have said it on the last podcast. If you're just going out in straight sets once you get there, which Cronulla are, they've done that the last 2 seasons and haven't won a finals game since 2018. If that's all you're doing, then what's the difference between doing that and not making the 8 altogether? So it's almost as if Cronulla are at a point where they need a reality check of missing the 8 one year and going, right, that they need a poor season to tell them where they're really at. Yeah. So they can then go and address the problems. If they keep scraping into the 8, they'll keep being satisfied with it and they won't address their problems. So I think, John, that I actually think they will have us. I know they've got an easy draw. I know you've been through that and you've done a lot of good research on that. I know they got a very easy draw, but I think they're due for one of those seasons, John.
I think so too.
I've got them missing the top 8 this year.
Me too.
I've got them finishing 11th, John.
Okay, I've got to finish 10th.
Yeah, so, John, I think they're going to miss the 8 this year, and I think it's what they need, John. I think they need to miss the 8 this year. They need a reality check. They need to be hit in the head with the reality hammer this year.
Yeah, so I think they'll miss the 8th. They'll come 10th between the Dolphins and the Bulldogs. So that will be, like, you got to think about it like that, right? Not only will they miss the 8, we both have them with the Dolphins beating them in their second year, ending up higher in their second year, even with such an easy run and even with so many good... You know, so like I don't know when average became an insult, but they have all above average players. They just don't have these superstar, like scary kind of guys in their forwards, in their backs, anything like that. And I think that if they can miss the 8, then they can change their recruitment and attitude a little bit to try and find that guy that will come in, like the Sonny Bill, who will come in and change their attitude and their culture, or the Wendell Saylor type purchase that can do
it really can, and they've got no recruitment this year, John. They've got no ins, and so that really, I sort of look at it and I go, well, that says to me that you're satisfied with going out in straight sets every year if you won't address it at the recruitment table. Which they don't, John. They have not. Then they're satisfied with where they're at, which is just losing straight sets in the finals every year.
Yeah. So they gained Billy Burns from the Dragons and Michael Gabriel from the Bulldogs, who are both fringe first graders from 2 of the worst teams in the comp.
Yeah.
So it really does say exactly what you're saying. Like they seem happy with where they are. And they're fine with it. And they've signed Fitzy to another 5 years, and they'll continue on as how they are.
And they're too scared to take their medicine, go down the bottom of the ladder and address their problem.
Yeah.
And that just says to me that there's a lot of people working there who just want to keep their job and say, yeah, we make the 8 every year. And rather than actually have the Brad Pitt conversation and go, well, what are we doing here if it's not to win a championship, or in this instance, a premiership, obviously.
I think they spent a lot of time. The main thing with the Sharks is historically they spent a lot of time just trying to stay afloat as a club. Mm-hmm. Like they were so close to shut down. They had so many odd past controversies and stuff. Like I remember a CEO or something accidentally punching one of the employees in the face, and you know they were almost. And now they had the peptide scandal, and they had these other things they wanted to build. Massive thing, and they got rejected, and it was just like all these issues. They spent so many times just thinking like staying afloat is where we are. Now they're afloat. They have a nice new renovated stadium with a car park next door or whatever. I don't really know what's going on. I went to a Sharks game last year or maybe the year before. It was awful. I had to walk 45 minutes from where I parked my car. And they had like what's it called, porta potties for the toilets and stuff. It was just terrible. But they just seemed like, all right, cool. We stayed afloat. Now we're happy where we are.
Yeah.
And they forget that it's a football club. You got to win games and win stuff as well.
Yeah. They won that premiership in 2016, and you thought, well, from there you can go. That their first premiership in their existence. It took them a while, John. And from there you can go one of two ways. You can go, well, this is the start of us winning, multiple premierships in the next little while. Or, yeah, we're happy with that. And we're satisfied, and we'll just rest on our laurels for a while. They haven't won a finals game since 2018, which was only 2 years after that premiership. So that just says to me that they were just satisfied with that 2016 premiership, and they've just been happy to rest on their laurels ever since.
That's something that can happen in sport, and sports as an organisation is just like individuals, where you set your goal and you achieve your goal, and then there's no point in really trying anymore because I've achieved my goal. Yeah,
it's like Cronulla are having a club premiership hangover that's gone for 8 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And it's going to continue the way that we're looking at it here, John. I just get the feeling with Cronulla that teams that are making a habit of going out in straight sets, which they've done it the last 2 years, you just feel as though they're about to fall out of the 8, John. You get that feeling that they're going to fall, that they're set for a fall. And And I feel like it's the fall that they need to have, especially with clubs like... There were a couple of clubs last year who missed out on the 8 who were better than that. I think
Cowboys.
I've got the Cowboys, the Eels, the Sea Eagles.
Yep.
I think they're 3 clubs who didn't make the 8.
Rabbitohs.
Yes, another one.
Yeah.
4 clubs, John. There's 4 clubs last year that had underachieving seasons that all had top 8 capabilities who have now had a chance to get their house in order. And I think we've both got all those clubs in our 8.
I dropped the Cowboys out because of the Tomalolo issues. But
I think
you've got
them all, don't I?
5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And I've got 6th, 7th, 8th, but the only difference is the Cowboys.
So if you're going to have clubs that come into your 8, well, others are going to come out. And
exactly.
I think a club that's missed 2 years in a row going out in straight sets are ready to come out, and that's Cronulla.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the Sharks. Good riddance to them because I hate them anyway. They are my mortal
I don't
enemy.
hate them, John. I'm completely
They're my
indifferent.
mortal enemy.
As a Dragons man, they are your mortal enemy.
Yeah.
For me, I'm indifferent.
Yeah,
I don't care how they go, for good or bad. I couldn't care less.
They're not one of those ones that anyone cares about, except for their 37 fans.
Sorry, I think I mentioned, I've got them 11th. I did mention that. Yep.
On to rugby league news for the week. This has been going on. This is a debacle, okay? So 12 players who are meant to be going to Las Vegas have been summoned to the US Embassy for their visas. They haven't gotten their visas yet.
Yes.
One of them, I think, is Latrell Mitchell, right?
So, John, I don't think it's been made completely clear. It's actually unknown if Jack Whiten or Latrell Mitchell are part of the 12 in question. But we do know that Reece Walsh is one of the 12, John. So that's a bit curious. I don't know how we know about Reece Walsh, but we don't know about Latrell Mitchell or Jack Whiten.
They're not allowed to talk about Latrell Mitchell or Jack Whiten.
Maybe that's it, John. But very strange. I sort of looked at this story and I thought only rugby league could manage this, John. All the goodwill of having a double header to kick off the season in Las Vegas, and we've got visa issues for players.
So, according to this article, the reason we know Reece Walsh is because he hired his own visa expert as opposed to using the NRL because the NRL isn't doing enough.
They're being coined as the Vegas dozen, John.
Yeah. So it's basically would be all because of charges, police issues, off-field behaviour stuff. Because that comes into it when you're vegan. But the fact that they're leaving it so late, don't US visas when you apply for them last for like 2 years or something, or a year or something? I can't remember. I haven't been to America.
To be honest, I haven't been there, John, so I'm not sure. But they are still confident. Peter V'landys is confident all the players will be cleared, John. So
he met Joe Biden, didn't he? So
maybe he sorted them out there.
Payne Haas already has a US visa after a holiday to Hawaii 15 months ago. You know, because when you apply for a visa from Australia to US, the visa lasts a long time. You can go in and out and stuff like that. And so why are they waiting till now to apply? They should have applied 6 months ago.
Yeah, it should have been. Well, as soon as it was known this Vegas doubleheader was happening, that's when this process should have been undergone, John.
Yeah, well, 12 players who may miss out. I don't think the Americans will care.
No, it won't be a good look not having the best players on show, though, John. But look, Peter V'landys is confident it'll be sorted out, John. So the players have to sit down with an American immigration official and discuss any off-field transgressions that resulted in police arrests or charges. So, the Rabbitohs and Sea Eagles doing battle before the Broncos and the Roosters go head-to-head at Allegiant Stadium on March the 3rd, John. The NRL's assisting these players to secure their visas, John. The league's called on the help of immigration experts to help the players who've been flagged. So...
It's ridiculous.
Seriously. Jack Whiten and Latrell Mitchell were arrested in Canberra and slapped with several charges in 2023. But those charges were dropped.
Yeah, have you seen that video?
Sorry.
Have you seen that video?
No.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's just like police overstepping. You know, I support the police. Police overstepping. We discussed it at the time, like it was a bit of argy-bargy. But, once the video was released, everyone went, well, they did nothing wrong. And it's funny because the video is like Latrell Mitchell is saying, like, I'm Latrell Mitchell. I'm Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But Peter V'landys thinks it'll all be sorted out, John.
Put a call into your mate Biden, Sleepy Joe. Peter V'landys, you went to the White House and met him, didn't you? Talked about rugby league, apparently. I think more likely they talked about racing. But, we'll see what happens. I can't wait till the teams are named. That happens on the 1st of... That match, those matches are on the 1st of March, starting at 1:30 p.m. And you've got here that the Manly and South's Vegas clash won't be broadcast on free-to-air television.
Yeah, so one game... the Manly South one won't be on free-to-air, John.
Well, if that isn't the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so that's going to be exclusive to Fox Sports. Channel 9's been left out in the cold on that one, John. Both 9 and Fox will broadcast the second game between the Roosters and the Broncos. Apparently, it's to do with the NRL entering into an agreement with Fox Sports, allowing them exclusive rights to the Manly South game in exchange for the doubleheader, with Fox ensuring both games of the doubleheader would be broadcast throughout America on the Fox Sports 1 channel. So it's this deal that's happened between the NRL and Fox. Fox has said, well, if you give us exclusivity to the first game, we'll make sure it gets on TV in America. Obviously, Fox flexing their muscle there, John, in the negotiations. But it's not great for the game, John.
Yeah, NRL cashing in on something, but not like they cannot sing the forest for the trees, because even though the idea is to target America, you're still going to get more ratings from Australia. Well, comparatively, there's going to be a lot of people who are upset. I forgot. I still got to organise something for that. Let me just. I've got to message somebody and say I've got to organise. Organise the boys
a drink up session to watch the game, John.
I think I may have a high school open day on that day, actually.
Okay.
Kids going to high school and stuff. So,
well, then you might not have to worry about not being able to watch it on TV.
I think I might be busy that day. Too busy for the high school open day. Well, that sucks. But head to the pub and watch it. It's unfortunate that it won't be on free to air, so a lot of people in Australia will miss out. It's good that it will be seen all over America, but I can't see a lot of Americans watching it.
I think this is very frustrating, John. Surely this is an example where you just put agreements aside and just go, given the significance of the occasion, Channel 9, you can show both.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a bit of goodwill for the good of the game would have been nice from Fox there.
Absolutely.
I do work there, but
it would have been nice.
Anyway,
so on to some Origin news. That's funny because the next three things are like a segue. So Michael Maguire has been obviously being asked about his Origin team. He's off doing his full-time job that Brad Fittler didn't get offered. It's funny when it's full-time because Michael Maguire and part-time when it's Brad Fittler. But he's not going to guarantee James Tedesco's Origin position, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, interesting, the quotes. There's a lot to read into what he said when he was asked about Tedesco, John. Maguire said, I respect all those boys that have been in the past, but I'm telling everyone to look forward. We've got to move forward. I know that he's had a very good preseason, and no doubt, like any champion player, he's still a champion player. I'm looking forward to seeing Teddy play some really good footy. At the moment, I'm not going to make any statements around the team. I said that when I first arrived. I want to let the players go and play, and then from there, we'll work out which way we want to go. So that says to me, John, that reputations are completely out the window, and he's just going to pick the team purely on form, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. It was the same as last year. They should have done it, and they didn't. Same as they should have done for Australia, and they didn't. They just picked James Tedesco. James Tedesco is one of the greatest players of our modern era, but he is getting old. He's getting on, and he's not in the form he used to be. Michael Maguire also talked about Jack Whiten.
Yeah, he did, John. He said that about Tedesco, but these are his quotes on Jack Whiten. He said, I enjoyed working in Canberra over the last 12 months with Ricky Stewart and the playing group, including Jack. Jack wants to settle himself in Sydney and with his new club, the Rabbitohs. He's still retired, but I told him to get himself playing and see how he's travelling. We'll have a discussion as the season transpires. We all know he's a big game player whenever he's in that arena. In time, I'm sure Jack will decide whether he's ready to go again. I think those quotes look a lot more favourable for Jack White than they do for James Tedesco, John.
I think so. As we said, Jack White could possibly play centres with Latrell. You'd have to have Tom Trbojevic at the fullback.
This is the thing, John, and another contender we've got to say, Dylan Edwards as well could come into contention at fullback there for the Blues. He won the Clive Churchill Medal in 2022. But you got Tom. Personally, John, if everybody's fit and firing, I'm going with Tom Turbo at fullback. But this is the pressure. If we go back to Tedesco for a second. The pressure on Tedesco is coming from a lot of different directions, John. With Dylan Edwards, Tom Turbo if he's fit, even someone like a Ryan Pappenhausen if he's fit, or Clint Gutherson. Like, there's a lot of names who I think are really challenging Tedesco. And to be honest, John, I'd be very surprised if Tedesco is the New South Wales fullback this year.
Backline that features Tom Trbojevic, Dylan Edwards, Latrell Mitchell, Jack White, and Josh Adokar. And where can you put James Tedesco in his current form? 3 years ago, it would have been James Tedesco, blah, blah, blah. But now, in his current form, there's just no room for him, unfortunately.
I think you're going on those quotes from Maguire. I think if he had to pick the team tomorrow, Tedesco would not be in it.
Yeah.
So I think Tedesco is going to have to do a hell of a lot to keep his spot. He's going to have to play out of his skin in the first 10 weeks or so of the season.
He's going to have the season of his career at his advanced age. I keep talking like he's a 50-year-old. He's only 31. But like I said, he plays like a 35-year-old.
There's just too many other contenders.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are a threat to him, I think, John.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really hard for him to hold his spot.
And segueing from Jack Whiten in Origin, Michael Ennis has some words about Jack Whiten at Souths. Michael Ennis says some crazy stuff, man. Like, I like what he says about a lot of things, but his thoughts on Whiten is that he could play in the halves.
Do you think sometimes, and I like Michael Ennis too, John, but do you think there's times where maybe he's a bit deliberately, he just chases a headline and he just says things to get his name in the paper, or...
I don't know. And there's a few people, like actually almost everybody who I think you could say that about as well in the media. They just say crazy stuff. But like Jack Whiten playing in the halves for Souths, who are their halves now?
Yeah, look, to be fair to Ennis, I think what he's saying is he could fill the hole if need be. So he said that, if something happens to Walker or Ilias, he can go to... or if something were to happen to Ilias, Walker could go to halfback and Whiten could go to 5'8". He also said if Latrell gets hurt, he can go to fullback. So, to be fair to Ennis, I don't think he's saying that, Whiten should be in the halves ahead of Walker or Ilias. He's saying, look, if something were to happen to them, he's certainly a backup option in the halves.
Even saying that is like, that's thanks Captain Obvious, because Jack Whiten has filled in at fullback, centre and halves at Canberra. He's played all of them. We already know that. He can do that. He's going to play centre, and I would hope that he plays centre. He's going to have year of his career, and he's going to come back to Origin and win Origin for us. There's going to be no injuries at the Rabbitohs where Jack Whiten is moved out of the centres because we want him to be and have the best centre form ever.
I'll tell you what, John, he has been, and I know he's a really good player, John, don't get me wrong, but he has been talked up a lot, Jack Whiten.
It's because of that one game that he had at Origin, that one game in the losing game, he was so good.
But there is pressure on him this year, John. There's pressure on him to deliver. I
wonder how he goes with pressure. I want him to win that. Well, him rejoining Origin is the same as Latrell Mitchell rejoining Origin. We need Latrell Mitchell fit and firing, going back to Origin, but he's had some things to say about how he wasn't happy with his treatment and so on. He considered quitting the NRL for good.
Yeah, So John, he said he's talking about this 2023 where he really had a terrible year, John.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is. He said, I just think mentally it was definitely draining. It was getting to a point where rugby league wasn't enjoyable. It was a conversation I had to have with my family and see where I was at in life and if I could potentially keep doing this, playing rugby league. Is it fun anymore? Can I keep putting up with people? It is what it is, but I couldn't go out of this game knowing that I didn't go out on my terms. He's missed out on playing finals footy for the last 2 seasons. Injuries and suspensions ruling him out of some big games. Of course, they didn't even make the finals last year, John, after leading the competition after 11 rounds. But what annoys me, John, is he says, the line that sticks out at me out of those quotes I read, can I keep putting up with people? That says to me that he's willing to just blame everybody else, John, and take no accountability whatsoever himself. And I know I've had a go at him quite a few times, John. I don't want to turn it into another Latrell, but I don't want to come on every day and bag Latrell. But, I mean, that just jumped out at me, John. Can I keep putting up with people as if all that stuff that we went into, none of it was his fault, John. It was all someone else's fault.
Yeah, everything is always someone else's fault with Latrell Mitchell. It's never Latrell Mitchell. It's unfair.
Yeah, it's like as if him not chasing for players towards the end of last year, that was someone else's fault.
That was the club's
apparently.
fault.
Sam Burgess walking out on the club because
Sam Burgess' fault.
That was Sam Burgess' fault. Cameron Murray having a go at him in a video session had nothing to do with Latrell not being there as a support player.
Cameron Murray doesn't throw the ball to him when he asks for it.
It had everything to do with Cam Murray not being nice enough to pass him the ball. The Curry knockout, playing in that when he said he was out injured and couldn't play.
That was Australia's fault for expecting him to be fit.
That was someone else's fault too.
It was Australia's fault for expecting him to be more fit than he was. That was Australia's fault. You know, man, like you don't know how these things work.
Sorry, it's me, John. I'm too harsh on him.
It's your fault, okay? It's not Latrell's fault. It's your fault. Yeah.
But it just those quotes just say to me that he just doesn't get it, John. He's looking to blame everyone else for everything and not take any personal responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. That's youth, but he's also getting old now, you know. Like, how old's Latrell?
He'd be mid-late 20s.
Yeah, 26 years. It's time to start growing up. Your brain is now fully developed. You're now an adult, proper adult. It's time to start growing up and taking responsibility for your own actions. Everything in life that you do is your fault. Everything in life that happens to you, you have to accept some responsibility for. In Latrell Mitchell's cases, I mean, not in general. Some things don't, like, you know, there are things that happen that aren't your fault. But in Latrell's case, everything in his life comes down to him and the choices he makes. So, things like that. Sam Burgess leaving because Latrell's getting special treatment. He could have said, hey, wait, I'm right. Sam is bringing up a bad thing that could cause negative morale in the team. And they ended up losing all their games. So one day Latrell Mitchell will grow up, I hope. Or he'll be Nick Kyrgios.
I mean, I only won 4 of their last 13 games last year, John. Went from leading the competition after 11 rounds to missing the top 8 altogether. I think a lot of it was to do with the the dramas around Latrell last year, John.
That's the club's fault.
All those examples I went through just before. So that's none of that's Latrell's fault. Apparently, it's unfortunately he's got to put up with these people, and there's no issue with him at all here. I'm sick of it, John. It's time for him to stop talking. It's time for some action, and we want to see it on the field this year.
Definitely, and he's going to go really well, be in Form Player of the Year, come back to Origin and win for New South Wales. And that's all I'll have to say about Latrell Mitchell, and I'll accept no criticism of him because it's all your fault. But speaking of criticism, Gordon Tallis seems to have this running battle about Adam Reynolds. I don't know what Adam Reynolds ever did to Gordon Tallis, but it just seems like every chance he gets, Gordon Tallis bags Adam Reynolds. He's like you and Latrell. So what's he said now about Adam Reynolds? Poor guy.
Yeah, so Tallis said, the fact is they bought Reynolds to win them a title, so that's what you're judged on. There would be moments of that game where he would think, God, I would like to have that moment again. If Nathan Cleary's first half was his second half and Brisbane won, he'd have the same demons. Cleary scored the winner in the 77th minute So if that game ends 3 minutes earlier, do we carve up Nathan Cleary? We do. Because every time they win, it's how good is Adam Reynolds or how good is Nathan Cleary. They get all the praise, so they've got to take the good with the bad. John, I don't agree with him that it'd be the same for Nathan Cleary because Nathan Cleary won the 2 previous premierships the 2 previous years. So I don't think the carve-up would have been the same of Cleary because you could go, well, all right, they lost 1 grand final. They won the previous 2 years. So that would buy him enough credit to make him immune from that sort of an assessment, I would have thought.
Yeah. He's won 2 premierships. I mean, if they lost, he's won 2 premierships.
And 2, just the 2 years previous as well. I know Adam Reynolds won one, but it was 10 years ago with South Sydney.
It was a while ago. Yeah. I don't know why Gordon Tallis gets so down on Adam Reynolds.
So Tallis, he makes some points there, John. But you do get the feeling that there is more to it, and there could be be a personal thing.
However many minutes of Nathan Cleary carving up the Broncos can't be laid down at the feet of Adam Reynolds. They couldn't get the ball.
That's the thing. You lose by 2 points to the best team in the last. Well, the last team to win 3 premierships in a row was Parramatta in 81, 82, 83. So they're the best team in the last 40 years.
Adam Reynolds...
And they lost by 2 points in the grand final.
Adam Reynolds...
Tallis is jumping on Adam Reynolds at every opportunity.
Adam Reynolds and any halfback can only do so much if they don't have the ball. And it was a short period of time in which the Panthers had the ball, all the ball, and were able to capitalise on their possession. If the forwards had tackled better, if the defenders had defended better, if the forwards had run harder and given Adam Reynolds more space to do something, the situation would have changed. It's not all Adam's Reynolds' fault that they lost by 2.
And he's a harsh man. I mean, it's not like Reynolds is the only Broncos halfback not to win a premiership. This club hasn't won a premiership since 2006, John. So for Tallis to just he's basically lumping it all on Adam Reynolds, blaming the whole thing on Adam Reynolds. He hasn't been there for very long.
The only person...
He's been there for, 2 seasons?
The only halfback you can definitively blame for losing a premiership for the Broncos is Ben Hunt. Because he dropped that ball. It was all Ben Hunt's fault.
But gee, to say the fact is they brought Reynolds to win them a title, and they go within an absolute whisker of winning the title. They're up 24-8 with not long to go and lose 26-24.
It was all Adam Reynolds' fault, apparently.
And to say, geez, he's a harsh mark at Tallis. This is a club that hasn't won a premiership for 18 years, so he's not the only one at the Broncos. He's only been there for 2 years.
And they made a premiership in his second year.
And how close did they get to winning it?
They made a grand final in his second year.
He's a harsh marker, John. Would he have made those same comments if Brisbane didn't get that close to winning it? Would he have said the same thing if Brisbane hadn't have made the 8 or lost in the first week of the finals? I don't know if he would, John.
I don't think so.
He's really
he always is kind of mean to poor Adam Reynolds. Poor little Adam Reynolds. Maybe it's because Adam Reynolds is a New South Welshman.
It could be, John. It could be.
And then he never gives a solution as well when he criticises Adam Reynolds. He doesn't talk about who they should replace him with, whether there's someone else there to come in instead of him, what Adam Reynolds should do to improve his game. It's just a constant criticism of Adam Reynolds. I find all the time with Gordon Tallis on Adam Reynolds.
And Nathan Cleary. No, I don't agree with him. Nathan Cleary wouldn't have been carved up.
No, definitely not.
So he's wrong there.
Anyone who had tried to say anything negative about Nathan Cleary would have been immediately shut down with, dude, he won the last 2 premierships. Yeah. They lost 1, but they've won. Yeah. He's won 50% of his premierships.
Yeah, and he made the grand final in 2020 and last year as well. Yeah. If they had lost, you could have said that as well. He's been in the grand final the last 4
times
years and won
2 wins.
So any criticism of Nathan Cleary had Penrith not won last year would, as you said, would have been quickly shut down. So,
Gordy, just calm down on Adam Reynolds, man. I think the Broncos will do well this year. We'll get to them in a couple of weeks for their preview, but I think they're going to go well. You'll have to wait and see exactly where I've put them. On to AFL, which kind of is a broader discussion, as you said. So, an AFL commentator has said, I saw this article, I was going to put it in there, then I saw that you'd already put it in there. Because we talked about it on Monday, that the AFL is wasting February.
Yeah, AFL commentator Dwayne Russell said he thinks the AFL should be making more of a move into February, John. We've only got these meaningless T20 and ODI series against the West Indies going on at the moment. I know you're a basketball man, John, and I know the NBL is on, but there's a lot of people who just don't care about it, John.
No, it's the fourth highest rated ball sport in Australia.
Yeah, so Dwayne Russell has said that, the AFL, that they could really move into February. They could, you could start the season earlier, play pre-season games this weekend, make it a 30-week AFL season, could have an extra bye in the middle of it. You could play everyone twice starting this weekend and finish the season in October. I've had a good think about this, John.
Play everyone twice.
Would
it work? Play everyone twice and finish in October? A regular season in October, and then play the finals through to November?
Yeah, well, I guess you got 18 teams, so if you were to play everyone twice, you'd have to play 34 games.
Yeah.
And then finals. Yeah, it's a bit much, isn't
it? Yeah. That's like that's 9 months. 9 months. Yeah, 9 months.
He did say that, didn't he? You could play everyone twice. Start this weekend.
Well,
and finish the
look,
season.
as much as I agree with a lot of what he's saying, that is the one I'm just going to rip out and say no. 9 months of AFL would be like they already complain about how they play too much. Like NRL and AFL. It's the same. The NRL wastes February as well. It's that few weeks between. It's not even just February because the Australian Open finishes at the end of January. There's a few days left in January. There's a few weeks between the end of tennis that cricket puts a bunch of useless ODIs in, and nothing else is on. I mean, there is the basketball. There's the soccer as well. But those aren't exactly like setting the world on fire. They're not the most popular sports. And we talked about it many, many times, the gap. Like it's, NRL and AFL, then daylight, then soccer and basketball. There's probably other things on too. It might be the Darts World Championship or something like that. But in Australia, we're basically NRL, AFL, cricket and tennis. And then there's a few other sports that a bunch of people follow. And between that period, it's bad cricket, no tennis, and we're waiting for the NRL and AFL. The rugby union used to fill that gap for a lot of people, but come on.
Yeah,
right, please.
I think that's no longer on the cards.
Yeah. Come on. I think there's a new rugby union coach. I don't even know. We can't remember if we brought it up when it happened. That's how little everyone cares.
Yeah, John, I'm starting to think that. Well, I've got two schools of thought on it, John. The first one is, I think that instead of just having maybe 5 or 6 test matches in a cricket summer, maybe they need to look at having 8 or 9. Getting another opponent out here and playing day-night test cricket in February.
Yep.
I know the school kids are back. That's why I'm saying play it day-night. The Big Bash is over, so it wouldn't clash with Big Bash games. That's certainly an option, John. I don't know why they seem to have themselves fixed on, we can only have a maximum of 6 test matches in a summer, or 5 or 6. I think they need to look at going to 8 or 9 tests and using February like that. That's one school of thought, John. Another school of thought now for me is, well, if cricket are just going to trot out these meaningless ODI and T20I series that no one cares about against a hapless opponent in the West Indies in February, well, at some point do the winter codes, the winter big boys, the NRL and the AFL, at some point do they have to go, right, well, if you're not going to do anything about it, we're going to move in on February, and if we do that, we'll have more value for our TV deal because it'll be a longer season. We'll be able to sell the TV rights for more. I know the players will complain because it's a longer season, John, but if the TV rights are sold for more, the players will get paid more money, and if you offer them more money, you'd be amazed how quickly they'd be willing to play in February as well.
Look, they could run trials earlier, and they televise trials now. They could run trials earlier. And if you think about it, right, if they ran trials earlier in the AFL and the NRL, people would be watching them now over those cricket matches that are on. But if Australia, if they ran good cricket matches people would choose those over trials.
Yeah. So John, if you got the choice between watching an NRL trial or watching West Indies, Australia ODIs and T20Is, you choose the NRL trial. If you got a choice between an NRL trial or Australia playing day-night test cricket,
exactly,
you're choosing the Australia day-night test cricket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and the NRL and the AFL could capitalise on it, and cricket could respond, and then we'd have an awesome war in February and a lot to talk about. He's right. I completely agree. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the reason we moved to 2, honestly, guys, it's just our opinion previews, is because there's nothing on, nothing doing. While there's nothing doing, by the way, the West Indies is playing Australia, but who cares? To be honest, we're padding that out.
Yeah, we need filler content. We're hanging out for the footy season.
Yeah, exactly. And it would be great if there were trials on, because then we wouldn't have to be.
John, what about the argument, John, that here's another argument I'm going to throw in there, play a bit of devil's advocate for you. What about the argument that we need this period of not having anything on to want the footy to be on more? Do the less is more argument?
Buy into that at all.
Wanting it, you don't agree with
in
that?
Most other countries where sport is a major factor, they actually have 365 days a year of major sport. They have sports on public holidays. They have like sports in America. They have the games on Thanksgiving, Christmas Day. You see it in the sitcoms where they sit around and watch the game. It's one of the reasons why American TV shows have hiatuses over holiday periods, because during holiday periods, families actually do get together, don't watch television and watch sport. There is a lot of, in America especially, they're obviously the pinnacle. There's sport every day. It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Okay. In India, there's cricket basically 52 weeks of the year. I see it all. There's sheer amount of cricket leagues there are around the world. It's 365 days a year. We have them all on SmartB. Check it out at smartb.com.au. We don't have the broadcast information yet, but we will one day. Where there's basketball, so for basketball fans, 365 days a year around the world. Ice hockey is really actually pretty big, much bigger than I thought it was. Yeah, I think it's it may have been a long time ago, but there's also, you got to remember, there's actually nothing in February. We had all the protests and this outcry about January 26th, and we had. What people forget about that is in January we have New Year's, Australia Day, cricket tests, not just sport but also other things. In February, what is there?
Well, meaningless ODIs and T20Is against the West Indies and NPL games.
Yeah, so there's no real sport, and there's no real public holiday celebration, anything like that. What is there in February to do? Nothing. There's nothing. It's a leap year. So we're going to have the 29th of February this year.
And I guess the counter to that point that I brought up before of you need to be left wanting more, the counter argument to that is if the NRL and AFL seasons were to start earlier, no one would be sitting there going, I wish the season would start later.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's going to... No one thinks that.
Every rugby league fan wants the season to go through for 52 weeks.
So, John, do you mind just looking up what date the first NRL trial game is on? Because I don't have that in front of me. I think it's
the Charity Shield is February 15.
Is it February?
It is February 15. Is the Bulldogs versus the Storm.
So February 15, right?
Oh yeah, 17th is the Charity Shield. Yep.
February 15. So that's only... Is that a Friday?
Thursday.
Thursday, okay. So the Australian Open finished on the 28th of January. So... I'm guessing that is so that's 2.5 weeks, right, between the Australian Open tennis finishing and the first NRL trial being on. So, John, all we're really asking here is for that first NRL trial to be held the weekend after the Australian Open tennis. If you do that, you fill the gap, right?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. So you move that to earlier, so that'd be pretty much 2 weeks before.
Yep.
So Thursday, if it's Thursday the 15th, so Thursday will be the 1st of Feb. So you have your first trial there. So you move everything 2 weeks forward, John. So you move the start date of the season proper 2 weeks forward, and you just have 2 extra games.
Yeah,
That's all you got to do.
I totally forgot they have this. There's a World Club Challenge as well.
Yeah.
On February 25th. But they also have this pre-season challenge thing. I totally forgot this existed, where it's now a competition and a team will win $100,000 in prize money, split evenly between clubs and players, blah, blah, blah.
So that's all you got to do, John.
Yeah.
Move that to 2 weeks.
Everyone would watch it, man. Everyone would. But if you put on a test match, everyone would watch that more.
But they haven't got the hint, though, have they, John?
No.
They won't do it. They continue to show these games that no one cares about.
Yeah.
These meaningless ODIs and T20 internationals. They haven't taken the hint. It's a whole month that's there for the taking for cricket, and they won't take it. So at some stage, maybe the winter codes have to stand up and go, right, well, if you're not doing anything, well, we're gonna jump in and steal your thunder.
I would honestly be, if I was the NRL or AFL, I would be doing it from next year. Whenever the next TV deal is.
Their TV deal, their rights deal will go up. The value will skyrocket with a few extra weeks of content.
So that's AFL. I mean, it branched into many other things, but it came from an AFL commentator. Still waiting for a UFC 300 announcement, so we'll keep waiting. In other sports news, the Super Bowl is Monday. It is the Chiefs versus the 49ers. We'll do a quick preview. The 49ers are $1.78 favourites to $2.07 Kansas City Chiefs. That is both with Unibet, bet with your head not over it. On smartb.com.au, you can check the betting trends of major American sports, so you can see what direction the money is going versus the bets. So even though the 49ers are the favourites on the spread, you got 70% of bets and money going towards the Chiefs. So spread is the line.
The Chiefs looking to become the first back-to-back champions in 19 years, John.
And so they're getting, for win, 63% of the money. So there's big bets going on the Chiefs to win, but a larger amount of bets are going on the 49ers. So take from that what you will. So bet with your head, go over it, gamble responsibly.
Yeah, for anyone interested, Usher is the headline entertainment act.
I've watched him live. It was terrible. It was so bad. Oh, my God. I hated it so much. Every dude in the audience was, looking at each other, just going, oh, God. Oh, man.
You would have thought they would have got Taylor Swift to be the entertainment act, John. I mean, she's going to be there anyway.
So,
her boyfriend. The
Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce psyop, I just wanted to get into this. I mentioned it the other day, but I've done a deep dive in it on TikTok. All my sources are TikTok influencers, by the way. They are the sources of the TikTok influence you see. There is no facts in it. TikTok influencers are sourced from TikTok influencers repeating nonsense.
They're very credible sources, yes. John.
So there's a psyop going on, right? The Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce relationship is fake. It's a CIA psyop or government psyop to trick people into voting Democrat. Travis Kelce was the spokesperson for the NFL for the COVID vaccination, which is a Democrat thing, and Republicans are against it. However, look, TikTok influencers, Donald Trump is pro-vaccines. He had a big falling out with the Republican Party over it. But apparently these two were put together because Taylor Swift made an announcement that everyone should go and vote because, she has to do something. And the day she announced that everyone should, the day she did something to save America, 35,000 new people registered to vote.
I've read it was 65.
Oh, 65? Yeah. That many people could have turned 18 that day. But anyway. But according to TikTok influencers, they've been put together strategically to target both those fan bases. So Travis Kelce to target sports, Taylor Swift to target young adults, to ensure that everyone votes for Joe Biden and gets vaccinated. Discuss.
John, that was only one theory. There were some other theories. There was another theory that I think Travis Kelce was going to propose to Taylor Swift on the field after winning the Super Bowl, and that this was all part of the grand plan to get Joe Biden back in.
It is.
You have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and then Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift on the field, and then using that platform. I can't think of too many bigger platforms than doing that after the Super Bowl.
And that was one of the other things they reckon as part of the, again, TikTok told me this. All of the Chiefs games since Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were put together by the CIA have been rigged. Remember, you gave a stat a while ago that they win more when Taylor Swift is at the games.
Yes.
The
pieces of the puzzle are coming together, John. I can see where these conspiracy theorists are coming from.
Just yesterday, a guy who's been predicting the election since 1984, some analyst, predicted that Biden would win the election.
Okay.
On the back of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship. Who knows? TikTok. So that's our Super Bowl preview.
John, to add to the hysteria, the Chiefs coach, Andy Reid, was actually asked about this in the press conference, if you can believe it. And he said, that's way out of my league. He joked in response. He was quizzed by a German reporter who actually asked him straight. This was the question from the German reporter. What do you say about the conspiracies that have popped up concerning Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? Some kind of Republican conspiracies that you guys made it to the Super Bowl to secretly re-elect or help re-elect President Biden. Can you imagine a pre-game Super Bowl press conference and the coach of the Chiefs is being asked this question by a reporter, John?
Yeah, it's above his pay grade, I think. He's clearly, if he doesn't know, he's clearly not a reptilian.
Apparently there were also...
it's crazy.
There were also... some rumours that Taylor Swift played a part in Pentagon psychological operations. To the idea that her and her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, are key assets in a secret plot to help Biden win. John.
Yeah, they are. It's a psyop, man. If Biden wins, it's only going to be because of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and the breakdown of democracy caused by those two. It's true. I'll
tell you what, though, John. One thing I would point out is, I think the Democrat types need to be careful of using celebrities like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce to help Joe Biden win, because the problem is that a lot of your average folk out there who go to the polls are going to go, well, I don't want two celebrities telling me how to vote, so as a rebel vote, they'll vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, that was their tactic in the Hillary Clinton Donald Trump election, and it failed. And a lot of the analysts applied it to that because there was too many celebrities telling them what to do, and people going, "Who the hell do you think you are, singer?"
So that's the thing. They assume that their Taylor Swift alliance will help them, the Democrats. I'm not so sure about that, John.
Just because you got 35 million followers on X or TikTok or Instagram doesn't make you mean you know anything about who should run a country.
Yeah, and all right, 65,000 people might have enrolled to vote when Taylor Swift told them to. But you probably got more than that who want to vote against the Democrats because of an endorsement from Taylor Swift.
My thing about that is do you really want 65,000 people voting who only registered to vote because Taylor Swift told them to? They're not invested in it. They're invested in Taylor Swift.
And that's the thing, that last time I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think maybe it would have been close to maybe a bit over 150 million people voted in the election. So 60 in the scheme of that is 65,000. It's not a big number, John, out of 150 million.
There's other Republicans have got. So I've been now my TikTok algorithm is completely broken. I've been on the thing with the other side of it is the immigration issue, in which Republican TikTokers are telling me Democrats are bringing migrants into the country to vote. Because that's how the whole system works as well. So it's basically Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and illegal immigrants are gonna win it for Joe Biden, according to TikTok. And the Republicans have nothing. But Ben Shapiro did release a rap song. Check it out.
I'll have to look that one up.
Oh, it's just bad. So that's our Super Bowl preview.
Super Bowl preview.
The winner will be Joe Biden.
thought we'd colour up the Super Bowl preview a little bit because neither of us care about it.
Yeah, I go watch it every year at a pub with SEN actually, but so I watched it this on Monday. So that reminds me, we're going to be doing. I've got to check with Dan, but our podcast next week will probably be on Tuesday because I got to go to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that is. Fine, John.
Cool. And then other sports news. ESPN, Fox and Warner Brothers are going to be launching a sports streaming platform. What, together?
Yeah, so this has just come out in the last day or so, John. So ESPN, Fox, I thought this one was sort of up your alley. ESPN, Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery have announced plans on Tuesday to launch a sports streaming platform that will include offerings from at least 15 networks and all 4 major professional sports leagues. Of course, they're talking about the American sports leagues. A one-stop app to view most sports should be a welcome sight for fans who continue to navigate rising costs by subscribing to multiple services, John. The 3 companies will each share 1/3 ownership in the joint venture. A name for the service and pricing will be announced at a later date. The platform will include games from the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, WNBA, NASCAR and college sports, including the men's and women's NCAA tournament, as well as golf, tennis and the FIFA World Cup, John. It will include offerings from 15 linear networks: ESPN, ESPN+, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC Network, ESPN News, ABC Fox, FS1, FS2, Big Ten Network, TNT, TBS and True TV. Subscribers would also have the ability to bundle the product with Disney+, Hulu and or Max. So there you go, John.
There's a meme that goes around on the internet because of the large number of streaming platforms. That first we had cable, then we had streaming. How much longer will it be before all of the streaming platforms combine and give us cable again? Well, now.
Yeah. So what do you think about this, John?
It's just going to become cable. What's going to happen is they're going to do this. If this is successful, because you got to look at like Fox and Warner Brothers. Fox is owned by Disney. ESPN, I think, is owned by Disney. Warner Brothers and Disney are the 2 main entertainment companies in the world. If this is successful, they can then merge their other streaming platforms, merge them into this. Then they'll go to Amazon, they'll go to Netflix and try and get them the rights to stream it. And you'll have like a thing where I've got to pay $80 a month to get Fox 8 and crap like that. And then I've got to add my $35 channel on top of it, my sports pack on top of it. You know, we are actually in a situation now where we're moving back to cable television, but just on the internet. And I don't like it because of that. If it becomes like that, then it's bad for me. Like, it's bad. The biggest issue I always had with cable television was the fact that I had to get Foxtel and the sports pack. Okay? I never watched any Foxtel. I only watched the sports pack. And then they finally came out with KO where I could just get the sports pack. This is a pathway down to us having to buy a cable pack, but on the internet, and then add on channels. It really is.
So it sounds like, from the point of view of the consumer, you're not too thrilled about this?
No, I think it really is that part. Right now you can pick... I mean, it's bad right now because there's so many, right? You have Amazon, Stan, Paramount, HBO Max, blah, 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 blah. No one can afford them all because you end up spending like $1,000 a month on bloody... if you want sports and entertainment, right? And I don't know how many times I've said to someone, have you watched this? And they go, what's it on? And I've said like, oh, Amazon Prime, whatever. I don't have Amazon Prime. I've got Paramount Plus, Stan, Binge, Netflix, whatever. Yeah. But if they start bundling them, this is the pathway to bundling. It really is.
So is this like a see how it goes from these companies?
Yeah, 100%. Because if you remember, in Australia, there used to be Foxtel and Optus Vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
Way back when cable television first came. There was Foxtel and there was Optivision, and then Optus Vision, then they merged and created this system where you had to pay them a whole bunch of money for crap you didn't want, so you could add on extra money to get the crap you do want. And this is the first merge. Sport merging. I don't want ESPN, most of ESPN, you know. I want what do I watch on ESPN now? Basketball. Sometimes and UFC is on ESPN, right? I don't know what will be on Fox, but if you think about like in Australia, if Channel 9, 7, and I want to watch my Channel 9 stuff. But if Channel 9, 7, and 10 merged, and then I had to buy the Neighbours pack so I could watch the cricket, it'd be terrible.
Yeah.
It'd be awful. I don't like the direction this is heading at all. Because bundling and merging is bad. What really needs to happen in all of this is a bunch of those streaming platforms to make the decision, like, you know what? I'm just going to close down and I will just make content and give it to Netflix. And then we get down to like a few. Like, there was a Warner Brothers DC Universe type streaming platform that you could only get in America that was not successful and closed down. We only saw all the DC comics, TV shows, movies, comic books, cartoons and stuff like that. And they went, no, it's not good enough. We'll just close it and move it. I can't remember which one it's in now. Alright, there's too many of them. But yeah, like, I don't like it. I'm really worried about the future of this, of bundling. Merging and bundling will be the end for us. We'll just be going back to getting Fox 8 and watching reruns of Seinfeld all day just because we have to, or buying reruns of Seinfeld every day just because we have to and because we want to watch the NRL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NRL comes with reruns of Seinfeld and The Simpsons.
Exactly.
And everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens and what the price point will be as well. Tennis continues though. Rafael Nadal's back. Yes, maybe. Novak Djokovic and Yannick Sinner are going to be playing in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so this is Saudi Arabia creeping in, John. They're creeping in. They're creeping into tennis. So 6 of the biggest names in men's tennis have signed up for a competition. An exhibition competition in Saudi Arabia, John. It's called the Six Kings Slam. Uh-huh. Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Carlos Alcaraz, Daniil Medvedev, Yannick Sinner, and Holger Rune. The who's who of men's tennis. Yeah,
that's hardcore.
So there you go. Djokovic and Alcaraz played an exhibition match in Saudi Arabia back in December. They received huge sums of money, John, played in front of a huge crowd. So these rumours of a breakaway tour just keep hovering around, John. The Saudi officials believe to be ready to back that move, a live golf style move on the tennis circuit, John. You just feel like it's only a matter of time, John, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I did see some chatter about that live golf, but I couldn't get really into it. I didn't really understand about how it's not. It's actually the tournament started and stuff, and it's really bad. The structure is bad. Yeah. And that's one of the things that now is coming out, like, around these Saudi Arabians putting money into sporting events. They're not as successful as they could be despite the money because they do tweaks that people don't like. You know, they change the tournament structures that you're used to. Like, if you want to go watch Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz stuff, you just want to see basically tennis.
They might use the Fast Four format.
But then, yeah, if they play something that is not tennis, less people will watch it, but the Saudis will learn. They'll learn.
I did, just while we're on this, John, I did have to laugh at there's some quotes here. Rafael Nadal, of course, has been unveiled as the new Saudi tennis ambassador. Now, of course, we had some people get on their moral high horse and bag him for that, John. But it is easy for people who don't have that money offer put in front of them to bag the person who decides to take it. If those same people had those money offers, would they be so morally superior? I'm not sure about it, John. But anyway,
I'll do anything for $1 million. Yeah. Anything.
I got to say though, John, I did laugh at Nadal's quotes on Nadal said, "Everywhere you look in Saudi Arabia, you can see growth and progress, and I'm excited to be part of that. I continue to play tennis as I love the game, but beyond playing, I want to help the sport grow far and wide across the world. And in Saudi, there is real potential. The kids here today are looking to the future and have a real passion for all sports. If I can help them pick up a racket or simply get fit and enjoy the benefits of healthy living, then I'll be happy to have made a difference." Come on, mate. Just say you're doing it for the money. Come on, like.
The kids here seriously are giving me money. Yeah. That's what it is. Lots and lots of money.
Rafa, it's okay. Just say you're doing it for the money.
You're a cool guy, man. You're still a cool guy, but seriously. Come on. Money. Money. Okay, that's our other sports news for a week. On to our social media blower-uppers. We didn't have any last episode because of watch the last episode. Yes. So we got some catch up to do on the Dragons preview. Zilla Ramen 3531 said, "It's not the players, it's the coaches and recruitment policies team involved in recruitment retention, not allowing our homegrown talent. It's the board members who run the club. Dragons have been going downhill since Bennett left. First Price, then McGregor, then Griffin. These three did more damage to our club than anyone else throughout the history. Youngest players coming through the rank didn't want to play for St George for the last 10 years, purely because of the coaches previously mentioned and their treatment of local younger players. We do want to get a wooden spoon, so that will be the slap the board members required. I think the slap board members need. For your knowledge, just have a look at some of the other clubs and see how many junior Dragons are playing in those. We just want one thing and one thing only from Shane Flanagan. Promote our younger players and give them longer ropes so they can prove themselves. FYI, we have a centre, we have a fullback. Bird can play 5'8" if he's not playing in centre or back row." So there's a couple of things in there that, first of all, the coaching, he's right. When Bennett left, he tore the club apart, even though he said he wouldn't. 2011 was his last year. Dragons were leading the comp, looking at the third minor premiership. He announced he was leaving, going to Newcastle. Not only did he sign with Newcastle, he signed a bunch of the Dragons players, like Neville Costigan, ended up getting Tyson Frizzell, some others. He took all of his staff with him and said, "Steve Price will run it. He's fine. He's perfect." Steve Price was left with an inferior roster, having to a fresh coach, brand new coach with an inferior roster, having to recruit staff, new coaching staff as a complete rookie, and a board that didn't support him. Recruitment was taken completely out of his hands, and he was sacked. And then Mary McGregor came in. Mary McGregor just went in because, like, why not? And he didn't do so bad. He did bad, but he didn't do so bad. But he had the same kind of situation: rookie coach. Staff he had to clean out, a roster that he wasn't allowed to manage. And then they went with Anthony Griffin, one of the worst coaches to ever exist in rugby league.
I think Mary McGregor is the sort of guy who, you know, he wouldn't be like an ego type who would worry about his personal coaching record. He'd just be the sort of clubman who'd want to get in and help the club because he felt like it was the best thing for the club.
That's a great point, actually. I remember when he was signed, I can't remember which commentator said, but they said like he's only doing it because he's such a diehard Dragons fan, not because he needs to or wants to coach. He has other sources of income and stuff like that coaching is irrelevant to him. He's only doing it for the club, which is not the best motivation for a long-term coach. It's a good motivation for a interim coach when you sack someone halfway through the year. And so I can't fault McGregor. He did nothing wrong. He brought players up. There are junior players. So with regards to the juniors, man, I've been following the Dragons since the Illawarra Steelers disappeared. So, 97, when the St George Illawarra Dragons came out. I was a Steelers thing. The whole idea was Dragons would bring
98 was their first season as a joint venture. And they made the grand final.
Dragons bringing the money, Steelers are bringing the juniors. All right, I know that there's so many juniors in Wollongong, Illawarra region, St George region.
Actually, I think it might have 99 might have been their first year as the joint venture. I think 98 might have been their last year as the St George Dragons. Anyway.
And this has been going on since then. Man, this has been going on since the Steelers. People complaining about juniors because some teams don't brood their juniors as much as they should. And yes, there are Dragons juniors everywhere in the league. There are great clubmen from other clubs that are from the Dragons. You know, Craig Fitzgibbon's one of the greatest Roosters to ever play the game. Play for the Roosters. He's a Dragons. You know, there's so many examples like that. So, like, you know, I do what we at the Dragons are meant to have is a good mix, right? Juniors and purchases. Wayne Bennett bought a whole bunch of guys and ignored all the juniors. 100% agree. Won a premiership for us. Cool. Steve Price was ruined by Wayne Bennett, and Mary McGregor was there to fill in, basically.
Pick up the pieces, if he could.
And now we hope that Flanagan can do exactly what you're saying. Promote the younger juniors, give them longer reps so they can prove themselves. With regards to Jack Bird, it's just been announced. So this comment was from a few days ago, and unlike the Mongoloid the other day that went on and on about how, like, Sutton at the Bulldogs has got surgery, misunderstanding. Since Zalaram and 3531 posted this comment, Shane Flanagan said that Jack Bird will play centre. He's lost weight to drop down to more of a centre's body and will fill in the back row and stuff like that if he needs to. So it's looking like It'll be Burden Lomax in the centres, Sloan in the fullback, and Ravalawa, on the wing, and I don't know the other wing. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. Continuing on, I wondered where the Dragons fans were.
Yeah, so did I.
Hammock Bay 6002 said Eisenhuth can fill in Kerr's role quite comfortably, as well as signing Hame Seli. I think the forwards look better now. And P.S. In what world is Ben Hunt overrated?
Well, this one, mate. I mean, he's the chief playmaker in a team that can't get near making the finals, and he's on over $1 million a year. So if you're on, as I said many times before, if you're on over $1 million a year, well, it's your job to get your team into the top 8 on your own, and he's not doing that, John. So Ben Hunt absolutely is overrated in my opinion for that reason.
Man, I love the fact that you're blinded by loyalty, probably as a Dragons fan. But I don't know any Dragons fans who don't want to see the back of Ben Hunt, to be honest.
Because it's not worth paying him over $1 million a year. It's salary cap waste because it's not getting you where you need to go. Yeah, so they need to let him go and then reevaluate the situation.
Yeah. So on the West Indies winning the West Indies winning the cricket.
Yep.
Swalcock, rude. He's Michael Bisping me.
Could have chosen a different name.
The entire of Australia, we're sick of the cricket team blitzing teams when everyone's celebrating us. When everyone celebrated us losing, it was amazing for cricket and amazing for the Windies. True.
Couldn't agree more. I think we said the same thing, John.
100%.
Yep.
On episode 45, it's the return of the General. Des started, that was when we were talking about the short dropout rule change. Des started the trend of short dropouts. I think it hurts the product when you see it fail to go to the 10. They're meant to be pro athletes. It's not a good look for the sport. I, as usual, 50-50 I tend to agree with the General. I 100% agree with this one.
I'd agree with that too, John. For me, the issue more is that the General's pointed out the look of the short dropout when they don't go to 10. It looks bad. That's a fair point. For me, it's more an issue of rewarding the team that had to. If you're taking a dropout, it's because the other team earned a repeat set. They've earned it, and so. With a short dropout, if it's properly executed, it goes to 10 and you regather possession. That team loses the reward that they gained out of forcing that repeat set. For me, that's more of the problem, that you just take away any benefit that a repeat set gets you. But he does make a good point.
Yeah. I'm going to hate it this year.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway.
On the Des Hasler Master Coach or Myth... Way to bring up an old video, but love it. Jay Void said, definitely myth, hit and myth. I like the play on words. And then response from SmartB, because in that video, if you remember, I said definitely, you said previously not, but now kind of is. John tends to agree. We'll make sure you get a shout out on the next episode. Mm-hmm. Jay Void responded with more info, which is always good. We love it when people respond with a bit more info. He's certainly above average, but it's not enough for a coach to just improve first-grade team performance. The greatest coaches also leave a positive legacy. The football club, juniors, pathways, cultures, etc., in a healthier state upon their departure than it was before their tenure. 100% could not agree more. This is actually a great comment and one that we haven't brought up in our overrated coaches or discussions before about coaches. Mm-hmm. As I just said, Wayne Bennett's a classic example. Now, Wayne Bennett is a super coach because he's won 1 million premierships but hasn't won anything since 2010. But every club he's left in a shambles.
Yeah, that's a really good point, John. That's the problem, isn't it? Because coaches are never judged on that sort of thing. They're only judged solely on their personal win-loss record. A lot of them just coach to that and they recruit to that. They only recruit to their own contract and they don't think about the bigger picture for the club and leaving the club in a good spot for years after they go. And really, really good point made by, is it JV Void, I think his name is?
JV Void? Yep. Yeah, JV Void.
Yep, really good point. Coaches should be judged more on the shape that they leave the club in after they go and not just on their win-loss record while they're there.
Yep, 100%. On the second serve discussion short on TikTok, I love this comment actually. JXN JXNGNEM, I don't know, talking about me. Guy on top looks like an on-crack old musty Eddie Hall. When this was sent to me, man, I laughed so hard. Good call. I used to get called Harry Potter. So I was that first time ever someone called me Harry Potter. I was at a Roosters versus Seagulls game, and the Seagulls were up, and then Roosters started to win. All game, there's been these Seagulls fans behind us chirping. Then we got up, and I was like, yeah, I turned around and up, yes, fucking. And the guy said, shut the F up, you Harry Potter looking mother effer. And that I just burst into laugh. And that's actually where my Instagram handle comes from, because I play half guard in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's Harry Potter and the half guard prince, like half blood prince, because I used to look like Harry Potter, and I'm happy to look like Eddie Hall, even if it is on crack old musty Eddie Hall.
Let's go.
On episode 46, the general again. I don't think there'll be any problems with Luai and Ivan. I'm not pretending to know what happened when Luai wasn't turning up to training, but my gut feel is Benji and the Tigers wanted Luai immediately and the club wouldn't budge. Maybe even the deal was hinging on that, then the Tigers conceded. As for Ivan's comment, I knew straight away to drive Luai away into the arms of another club. Ivan was obviously wanting to keep Luai's price down on the open market, but you can't talk about these kids of today like this. They're a coddled generation. Even if there was truth to it, Luai was always going to take offense to it, take it as a personal challenge. The two reasons I'm not worried about Luai as we shoot for the 4-peat is, number one, he's already talking last ride chat all over his socials, tell you he's on board now and buying in, and number two, what Leniu and Mansour said on the Let's Trot podcast, that's the intensity of Penrith's training session is like nowhere else. That tells me it's not a club where one doesn't buy in. Now, he sent a timestamp for us for that Let's Trot podcast thing, and I watched it, and that's basically what they said. As we know, the General is a Penrith fan. Mm-hmm. Sorry, General, I hope you don't get a 4-peat.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that.
We need a new winner this year, yeah. I think, John.
I like the theory, though. The theory does sound like a good one. That the whole thing about him not turning up to training and stuff was maybe they wanted the Tigers. I know for a fact, I got it from a very good source, that the Tigers did want Luai immediately, and there was a lot of discussion around it, and I don't know if the deal hinged on it, but it's good that they caved. So JV Void came back. Obviously, JV Void is a cricket fan. Mm-hmm.
Some cricket comments, John. Yeah. Don't get many.
ODI, he did 2 comments. ODIs will regain some interest when the ACB steps up the good old-fashioned tri-series again. A tournament where there's round robins and finals. When was the last time we had that? It was 10 or 15 years ago. Better still get 3 teams over for a month and make it a 4-way comp.
Yeah, I think
we actually mentioned
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way to get people interested. Ari handling the ball in that... I don't know why a batsman wants to throw the ball to anyone. Why do you want to touch the ball anyway? Why do you want to make it easier for the field? You get your chance to touch the ball again when you're fielding. In many hundreds of innings I've batted, I've never even gone close to feeling like touching the ball. Every time I see a batsman do it, I can only wonder why. Dismissed, no sympathy, stick to the rules.
I 100,000,000% agree with what he said there. 100,000,000%. Why would you pick the ball up if you're the batsman? It's only going to bring you problems. Just leave the ball there, let the fieldsman get it. You do that, you got no problem.
I'd even go so much in for the mind games to stand really close to the ball in that situation, so the fielder has to bend down in front of me. And while he's down there, I'd say something like, "Why are you down there, love?"
But as usual in cricket, John, they'll do nothing about changing the rules, and they'll just blow up at anyone who does nothing but play to the rules.
Exactly. On the Bulldogs preview, Craig J7747. The quote of the whole podcast here, IMO, in my opinion, by John.
There you go.
The opening 6 rounds will tell you how they'll go. Could not agree more. As a Bulldogs fan, front rower and halves position for mine are huge concerns. Hoping they prove me wrong, though, up the Dogs. He also said, your show is original because you're both not pretending to be someone else and regurgitating the usual worn-out diatribe. Refreshing.
All right, so who said that last
That was
one?
Craig J7747.
Also, he said that both as well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice
he responded to our social media manager responding to him and added that. We did discuss the front row and the halves positions in the Bulldogs. They have a killer back line, 1
to 5 looks good, John.
No matter how much you want to have the arguments over Burton, Crichton playing halfback, centre or fullback, Burton in halves, Burton in centres, their 1 to 5 is just killer.
Yeah, 1 to 5 is really good. And they're not short on sort of bench utility players who can cover a lot of positions.
Yeah.
The issues, as Craig's pointed out here, the issues are the halves and lacking a little bit in that front row.
Yeah, the front row is all inexperienced young guys. So thanks for the comment, and yes, me.
Well done, John.
That's it for our social media blower-uppers for the week. I got to rearrange this housekeeping. Housekeeping. Don't forget to sign up to smartb.com.au if you haven't already to get the tip of the day. To get racing, to sign up for your Black Book and Smart Book, where you can put different teams that you want notifications on, and you will get them. And the notifications of the day, I get all of my news every day into my inbox for all of the sports I follow, including fixtures, results, and news articles from SmartB directly. It's one of my favorite features of the app. Also, the tip of the day is really good. I am currently down, so not happy with that, but it'll get back up there. You can also go in the chance to win 2 tickets to Subversion. Jake O'Driscoll, our ambassador, will be in the week before Subversion to appear on the podcast and preview the Subversion card. Mm-hmm. Exciting announcement. We have Mitchell Pearce is now one of our SmartB ambassadors. So
Good news, Sean.
He's just on holidays at the moment, so when he's back in the country, we'll get him in for some rugby league talk.
Sean, I've taken a few notes on our new ambassador, John. NRL Premiership winning halfback in 2013, has played 300 plus NRL games, and he is a New South Wales State of Origin player, John. So,
and New South Wales State of Origin winner.
Yes.
It was one of the greatest redemption stories in the history of rugby league.
So it will be great to get that experience in on this podcast,
Definitely.
John. We're really looking forward to it.
And so something that launched yesterday is NFL, AFL, and NRL tipping competitions are now available on SmartB. It's the best tipster of the week in each competition will win a $100 cash prize. I can't remember if it's $100 or $200. That will get confirmed. It'll be on our website. And the best overall tipster for the year will win a $10,000 cash prize for NRL and $10,000 cash prize for AFL. You will be tipping against Mitchell Pearce and me. I have a 76% win rate. And Dan as well. So watch out for upcoming round 1 in the NRL. We do have some more ambassadors coming, including AFL ones for our AFL fans. Don't forget to follow SmartB app at SmartB app on all social media and watch how well I kick everyone's butt in the entire world in tipping in the NRL.
Bring it on, John.
All right, it's on. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday after the SuperBowl with the SuperBowl breakdown.
Sounds good, John. Have a good weekend, mate. I'll see you then.
Bye, producer John.
See ya.